Josh Komnick along with the furniture guy Jake Johnston and head Railer coach Neil Alexander. Coach, coming into that second half again, the Railers lose last night at home 42-36 from Sacred Heart Griffin. Second half, Coach, we hit our a lull. We've talked about those lulls. You've talked about them. We've talked about them on the show during the games where scoring will be tough at times, and it definitely was. One free throw made, and that was with 3 seconds, I think, left in the third quarter. The guys, and I'm not saying just the Railers, it even looked like Sacred Heart Griffin, and although they scored 13 on that quarter, but not a lot of life in the third quarter for either team.
Yeah, it was a pretty dead basketball game last night, but, it all centers around offense, and that's part of the game. You got to score to win, but you also, to win games, you got to stop people from winning. And for fans, offense is great. For wins and coaches, defense is great. So, that's something you got to continue to work on. But we talked on after the game last night that. A basketball game, you have your opening tip, and as the game goes on and the time ticks down, the intensity increases. And right now, our kids just kind of play a monotone game straight across the board instead of, picking up. And, each half, starting the first 3 or 4 minutes, is so important to set the tone of the basketball game, and there's no doubt that Griffin set the tone the second half.
Well, they did. That big 13-1 run in the third quarter. We were up 19-17 at half, and then after the third quarter, it's 30-20, and we actually outscore them in the fourth, 16-12. But they built such a big lead in the third quarter. They got their crowd into it. They picked it up a little bit, and when the Railers needed to, it seemed like we turned it on 3 minutes into the game. But then again, we talked about the shot selection where we came down and forced some threes. A lot of times we had a lot of time left, and it's been not necessarily a problem, but a thing that is consistent with the Railers of coming down and shooting quick threes with a lot of time when we can go to the basket and get easy shots, because as you know, when you miss a three, they come down and you got a foul, they can turn the game and maybe lopsided pretty quick.
Yeah, and the games, even down into the 2-minute mark was only a 2-possession game, and we took bad shots, but you got to understand that you got to play that to know that a 2-possession game is
right.
You get a score and a stop, and you're right back in it.
Leading scorers last night for the Railers, Max Cook, he had 11 points, 6 for Jordan Gessner, 8 for Christian Van Hook, 3 for Jake Olson, 2 for Gavin Block, and 1 for Matt Hayes to round out the scoring of 36. Austin Ingleton led Sacred Heart Griffin with 14, 10 from Malik Turner, and 10 from Nate Lewis. Coach, mainly here in the last couple of weeks, really after that first game in Collinsville, we've done a good job of consistent scoring. Last night, one guy in double figures, and lately we've been having at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, and for us, we have to have balanced scoring. Our coaching staff has sat and talked, and right now we don't have a go-to guy, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But we've got balance, and it has to show up every night. I think there are times where one player could have a big night, but for the coaching standpoint, I can't go in tonight and say we're going to get this out of this kid and this kid and this kid, and where last year we knew we were going to get from certain people, and we just don't have that. But there's nothing wrong with that. But you still have to come every night and still able to chip away and put your be consistent. Each player give their part.
Yep, and the effort's got to be there, as you say, every night. Sacred Heart Griffin shoots 15 of 35 from the field last night, 43%. The Railers 12 of 44 for 27%, 5 of 24 from 3, and 7-11 from the line. So really the shooting percentage in that third quarter is what doomed the Railers to get there. 10th loss of this season. Coach, let's move into tonight's game. Again, a normal schedule game, 6 o'clock sophomores, 7:30 varsity. IVC coming to town, a new school maybe not a new school, but a new school to the Railers schedule in a non-conference game.
Well, these are games that we like, one-year contract where they come to our place and play. And, IVC and Coach Thornton, we went to school. He was maybe 4 years behind me at Monmouth, and he does a great job. And they've got a good basketball team. They got a 6'8" kid in the middle. They've got a kid that can really shoot it on the perimeter, and they've got nice size and so forth. So this team here will be very physical. So it's another contest very similar to last night.
They beat Rochester. Of course, we lost to Rochester at Rochester. They did beat Dunlap. We beat Dunlap in Collinsville. So, record-wise, they've got a pretty good record. They're above 500. But as you say, again, with the size and 6'8", and some things that we have some trouble with, especially a shooter on the outside and a big kid in the middle, always poses a problem for the 1-2-2.
Well, it does, but it's also, if you only got one shooter out there, it's a little bit easier to find than looking for four of them. And even though Eagleton led them last night, he is their best three-point shooter, but they've got other guys that can sit out there and shoot the three. So I'm sure IVC has other kids to shoot, but they've got one kid that can really, really light it. If you don't cover him, it's you might as well book it.
Coach, before we let you go to the shoot-around, we've got I want to give a quick update on the Meyer-Glenwood tournament, and that's going on starting Monday. And we've got to play Monday, 5 o'clock the sophomores play. So a little bit different. And have they done this in the past? I know when I was coaching, we had to go back the next week. Was the worst dreaded 2 weeks of coaching for a sophomore coach, because you got to do the full week of varsity and then go back for a full week of sophomore at Chatham. But now they bring the sophomores in.
Well, last year with Rochester coming into the league, that gave us 5 conference schools at the Meyer. So at the end of the year, we always had a 3-game round robin. Central State, they call it Central State Shootout for our sophomores, and they would play on a Wednesday and play twice on Saturday. But with the 5th team, they started it last year where we play a couple games at the Meyer Classic, and that works out really well. Part of the tournament's played now, and then we finish it at the end of the year. It's a little bit different, but it also helps out for scheduling and things. So Glenwood's got a great facility for things like that, to where you got a varsity game going on. So the first 2 nights, there's a couple games that played in the sophomore tournament that will finish up in Lincoln the Wednesday and Saturday, the last week of the regular season.
Monday night, the regular sophomores start at 5 o'clock, taking on Jacksonville, and then the varsity hits the court at 6:30 against Jacksonville. Also, Wednesday night, the varsity is at 5 o'clock against Taylorville, and they move to 6:30 is the sophomore game against Taylorville. So 6:30, this is Wednesday night, 5 o'clock varsity, 6:30 sophomore. So a little bit of a change. You get to watch the varsity first, and then head over to their auxiliary gym and watch the sophomore team. Friday night, 8 o'clock, Chatham. That could be, looking through this, the Railers playing well and can get some wins. This could be a matchup of teams vying for the title. We hope that we're in that position. And we saw them at Collinsville. Again, they lose by 16 against Lanphier. And that Chatham-Lincoln matchup in that tournament in the last couple of years has been the matchup, the marquee matchup in that thing.
Yeah, it has. And, with us getting off to the slow start that we have and Jacksonville beating us, I think they kind of feel Jacksonville will be it. And you can always tell, the championship game is usually set for Saturday night, and it's Glenwood and Jacksonville. So we'd really like to mess the tournament up starting the first game of the night there, or that 6:30 game, and come out and play well against Jacksonville and go from there.
Friday again, 8 o'clock, Chatham at the Chatham tournament. 11:30 is on Saturday. There's 2 games on Saturday. We've got 11:30 against Rochester, and we got a little payback for them. And then Saturday at 6:30 against Highland. Coach, have you heard anything on Highland? Have you gotten to see them any before?
We have not seen them, and with us playing them the last game of the tournament, we've got 4 games that we'll be able to see them. But they'll be very competitive. They're a very physical team. And if I'm playing Lincoln, if I'm not a physical team, you become a physical team somehow, pretty quick to try to knock Lincoln off its patterns and things and so forth. And, our kids are going to have to adapt to it and play with it and learn how to play.
Coach, 9 games in 7 days, or 7 games in 9 days, something like that?
7 games in 8 days.
8 days. Are you a little concerned with the fatigue factor on some guys that, I think Jordan Gessner is physically built somewhat for that. There's some guys that we have built, but some of the younger guys aren't quite that mature build, and that takes a big part in that many games.
Well, I think as the coaches, we do have to consider, going into our bench and try to spread minutes out a little bit more, because by Wednesday and Friday of next week, it'll start showing. It may not show tonight or Monday night, but by the time you get through Wednesday and into Friday and Saturday of next week, it will show. So, and then we're shorthanded. Tommy Harris has been out sick all week. He hasn't been at school at all, and we're really short another guard there, and being out all week, not practicing for about 8 or 9, 10 days, you can't expect him to come back and really give us a lot. But we've just got to try to spread our playing time out and see what happens.
Well, it's also nice too, Coach, that you have you've been playing a lot of guys lately. Some different starting lineups, some different guys with more minutes. You can never, when you look at the stat sheet after the game, you never know who could get the minutes that night and who's playing well.
Yeah, with who's playing, it should be, I got a chance for my minutes and be prepared to play, even the guys coming off the bench and everything. So, we've got to continue to work at that and, be able to attack physical basketball teams. So, we're going to continue to work with them, and hopefully our fans don't give up on them. I think there's still good basketball ahead of them, and I think this week is an important week for them.
Yeah, it'll be a big confidence booster this week if we can come in and get some wins at the Meyer Glenwood. Starting tonight, though, again, the regular start at 6 o'clock on the sophomore team, and 7:30 for the varsity. Coach, we want to thank you for coming in. I know you got to get to the shoot-around for this morning, but good luck tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick commercial break out here at Lincoln College at the Jack Nutt Arena. Come out and check out the Lincoln wrestling team. They're ranked 4th in the nation, taking on Muskegon Community College, Ellsworth Community College, and also Labette Community College. We'll be back 96.3 FM and WLCN online.com.